Hey everyone, Alex Tardy here with the Weather Echo. A weather insight for you. We haven't talked for a while. It's been dry across California, bone dry. Weather pattern change coming up. Continuous atmospheric rivers for California. Yes, for California now coming up, not just the Pacific Northwest. So let's talk about what is expected. Okay, the weather insight's going to start with the Tule fog. We have to. The upper level ridge, the warm air. Okay, at night it cools off, saturates, so the temperature lowers close to the dew point. Fog forms. Then that fog has trouble burning off because the sun angle is so low. Then the fog expands and then it gets trapped. The air above stays warm, the air below stays cold 24 hours a day in the 40s. So then you get this inversion that just doesn't leave. It's got a cap on it. The cold air is dense, so it sinks in the valley, and you get this massive area of Tule fog. So this is week 2. This is quite persistent. I've been in Sacramento where we've seen over a week. So this is moving forward with potential very rare long duration. And the only way to get rid of this is now we got to bring in colder air on top of it to mix it out along with the wind, and that will replace it. And that's what's going to happen when we get these atmospheric rivers and storms moving in. Okay, the first atmospheric river, Pineapple Express, perfectly placed over Hawaii, moving towards the Pacific Northwest. So this is a satellite image today, and you can just see that moisture tap, not just from the subtropics, but from the tropics, moving towards the Pacific Northwest. Very impressive. Okay, they've already seen significant rain, especially December 6th through the 11th. We're talking about 20 inches, some places a little more along the Cascades, of water in that region during that period of time. If you look down towards Portland, very similar, 15, 20 inches. Surrounding coastal areas, 5 to 15 inches. So it was a major event. And then hydrologically, even more so. Snoqualmie River, look at the 2 peaks that occurred on this river. They weren't just major, they were near record levels. And of course, on the right-hand side, you can see it's forecast to go back into moderate as shown here. Now, this river here, the Skagit River, this one did reach record. Not a concrete, but very close. And it's forecast to go back into the major level twice coming up here with the next series of atmospheric rivers. Wanted to show you in Mount Vernon here where the record did occur as seen on the left-hand side here, right here, record level. And 2 peaks going up in major expected to come from the next round of heavy rain. Okay, heavy rain in California, well, we didn't have it. Percent of normal the past few weeks is 0. So really it stopped since that last heavy rain November 20th in LA. The bright red area extends into Texas and Nevada and southern Utah. Now the wet signature, of course, Pacific Northwest, but also across Idaho and into Montana where it's been above normal. Also above normal along the Gulf of Mexico as shown here. Okay. Now, what about as we look at the water year? You can still see a significant signature. Why? Because November was so wet in Southern California, 5 to 8 times wetter than normal. Almost the wettest, but not quite. But the signature is still there, double at least, much above normal Southern California. See a signature up in the Northwest as well, thanks to that recent rain. Very dry in Texas, dry in the Southeast overall. So water year numbers here are going to change, especially take a look at Northern California. We'll talk a little bit about that. That will change, and Oregon. Now, Northern California, not only dry, but the snowpack. We're talking about 1/5, 20% of the normal snowpack in the Tahoe area. So very slow start to snow, even less for the Northern Sierra, Southern Cascade area. How do we know that it's record? Well, if we look back at the records through December 12th, we can see the blue line there where the arrow's pointed. It hasn't been this little snow this time of year. I remember when I lived in Sacramento one year around 2000, we were in a similar situation. Now, precipitation, which includes snow and rain, not the record driest for the northern Sierra Nevada, but you can see it's running much below normal. Very, very slow start for precipitation. We got a lot of time left, though, and we have a potential wet pattern to really start to make up this. Okay, what's the weather pattern going to do? Well, now we have the jet stream to our north. We have upper level ridge, which is that warm heat dome. If it was summertime, it would be really hot because the sun angle's higher. and we wouldn't have Thule fog, but it's not. The sun angle's low, and we have that Thule fog warm over the cool, wet ground. Those November rains really aggravated it. So we've got this weather pattern and jet stream focused on Portland and Seattle over the next couple days. Notice out in Hawaii, though, I want you to focus on Hawaii, that upper level feature as well. Those may not merge directly, but that will help enhance the atmospheric river from the origins of the tropics or Hawaii and send it into the West Coast storm in Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. How's it going to do that? Well, the jet stream remains in place on the 18th and 19th, okay? It doesn't sag very far south. It keeps pointed up north. So that means the atmospheric river is going to stall, be parallel to that wind flow. So it's going to stall over Northern California and Oregon and then reload. Notice that system out in Hawaii still just sitting there. And that's going to be a key player. Now, when we go forward towards Christmas, we can see in Hawaii, Northwest, still an upper level feature. So this is not going to end quickly. But notice what happens in the West Coast and East Pacific. Upper level trough, more cold air from Gulf of Alaska starts to sag south. So now we get the jet stream shifting south. Okay, that'll bring the atmospheric river further south, give a break to Seattle, but now focus it over central Northern California for Christmas. Okay, so big changes there overall, even though they're subtle. Very active jet stream going across the Great Lakes and the Northeast as well. Okay, let's take a look at the atmospheric river potential coming up in Central California. Take a look at this. So we have high confidence of multiple atmospheric rivers, but not high confidence on their strength, but one after another, continuous activity through Christmas week. Now for Southern California, we have to wait a while up until Christmas week or right before Christmas. But the activity there, high confidence that it'll occur, but low confidence on the magnitude. So all those dots are all over the place, and those are the indication of the magnitude. Now, this takes a little bit of time to digest, but I broke it out for Southern, Central, Northern California, and Pacific Northwest. You can see that as we go forward in time, and time on this reads from right to left, back-to-back atmospheric rivers for the Pacific Northwest, 15th, 17th. Some of that makes it in Northern California on the 16th, 17th. Goes away a little bit, then reloads in the Pacific Northwest on the 18th, 19th. Some of that lingers on the 20th across Northern California, so it doesn't go away. Then it reloads across central Northern California for significant atmospheric river activity right before Christmas. Then when we get towards Christmas, we can see we now have a flare up all the way down into Southern California because I just showed you the upper level trough sags to the south and allows to draw in that pineapple express moisture from Hawaii. So very active pattern all the way through the sequence here. Let's look at individual ones. So the 15th and 16th is shown here. And we can see the strong atmospheric river slams the Pacific Northwest. Then it doesn't really go away. It stalls over Northern California, shows here, and weakens a little bit. And look at that energy coming out of Hawaii for round one out of Hawaii. Now, as we go forward, round one out of Hawaii on the 17th and 18th really flares up into its own atmospheric river. The prior atmospheric river doesn't go away. It flares up a little bit over Northern California and the Pacific Northwest, as shown there. And then by the 18th, you have one continuous large atmospheric river bending up towards the Pacific Northwest. Now, when we go after that, around the 20th and 21st, okay, that original Hawaii surge is weakening across the Pacific Northwest, but still moving towards that area. And look at the new surge coming out of Hawaii. Because of the persistent upper trough there, it's going to repeat. So basically the pattern is going to repeat. And that activity that I got pointed to the right there is going to arrive during Christmas week into central Northern California, possibly Southern California. Okay, the long-range outlooks indicate the same. This really changed starting around the 11th of December. We know the Pacific Northwest has high confidence for the first week, so the next 7 days, because multiple atmospheric rivers. But look what's going to go on in California and much of the West. There's now significant confidence of not just normal, but above normal precipitation in week 2. Week 2 is Christmas week. And then you can see, because the cold air drops from Gulf of Alaska, we also finally get snow in our mountains as well as we get cool and cooler than normal air descending over Northern California. So very important to snapping this 3-week dry spell. Now, when we look forward, this has changed too. Now, computer models in general are indicating at least central Northern California, Pacific Northwest remaining wet after Christmas into early January. I've got that area highlighted on the top panel here. In fact, the Pacific Northwest may remain wet well into January. So you can see massive warm up, though, for much of the United States. So this is falling more in line with what our long-range prediction was for a very active jet stream, very wet pattern for the Pacific Northwest. So, but we need the rain and snow for California as well. Otherwise, we could fall behind quickly. And Northern California already seeing its driest snowpack or lowest snowpack on record for this date. Hope you enjoyed this insight from Weather Echo. Stay tuned for details coming up because we're going to have a lot of details on timing of these storms. The bottom line is major weather pattern change for the West Coast, so not just Pacific Northwest, but now central Northern California. Very wet conditions, Pineapple Express, multiple atmospheric rivers through Christmas week, cold enough air that we could bring snow that is significant to our mountains like Tahoe as well. Now, Southern California has more uncertainty, but it does look like rain is in store for Southern California too for the week of Christmas. Really honing in on Christmas Eve starting. So everyone, you can find more information on our blog, X, TikTok, and YouTube as well. You can sign up for the blog as well. We put a little bit more detail in there. Stay safe, everyone, and happy holidays, and enjoy the sun for now if you're on the coast. We're getting rid of the fog if you're in the Central Valley, and if you're in the mountains where it's warm and we need the snow for skiing and snowboarding, it looks like the pattern's going to change for Christmas week just in time. Thanks, everyone.